Here are 5 things I wish I knew before I started selling my first digital product. Selling your first digital product should feel like magic, right? But for me, it felt more like confusion, overthinking, wondering what the hell I was even doing. Now, don't get me wrong, I have sold dozens of digital products, from $20 workbooks to $5,000 plus courses. Some totally flopped, whereas others I sold while I slept. And today I want to tell you the truth that I wish someone had told me before I hit publish. I'll walk you through the biggest mistakes that I've ever made, the lessons I learned, and what I would do differently if I was starting from zero today. Because if you're a lightworker, healer, or spiritual entrepreneur trying to monetize your magic, it's not just about having a beautiful product. It's about clarity, how you use your energy, and creating simple systems that you can follow. So let's get into it. Number 1, start with the transformation, not the format. People don't buy PDFs for the sake of buying a PDF. They buy results. What I love about PDFs and ebooks is that they're extremely versatile, easy to create, and they're a great starter product or low ticket offer for a new entrepreneur. But one of the biggest mistakes that I've made and that I've seen other people make is that they don't focus on the transformation first. At the end of the day, every single product needs to solve some type of customer pain point. If you're not giving them a solution, they're not going to buy your product. And also, you need to think about how they're going to actually use your PDF in their daily life. So one of the most important questions you can ask yourself is, what will change for my customer after they've used my product? This is the transformation that becomes the heart and the soul of your offer. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, everyone wants to improve their life somehow or make something less painful. And your product absolutely should be delivering that kind of result. One of the biggest mistakes I made for one of my first low ticket offers was focusing on the PDF, the format, before I even thought about what the transformation was going to bring. This basically led to a lot of work and rework and wasted time and effort because I realized a couple months in, yes, months in, that I wasn't creating something that was clear enough in terms of solving a real world problem. Unfortunately, I had to start from scratch, but I learned a lot from the situation, so at least there's that. So don't be like me and instead focus on your transformation first. Number 2, you don't need to start a website. I have made this mistake so many times, it's almost laughable. When I first started Mystic Twist back in 2020, the first thing I did was to create a website. I thought that in order to be a true professional and entrepreneur, I needed a website where I could point people to go to buy my stuff. The funny thing is I built a website without having anything to sell. And not only that, websites are actually really complicated to set up and difficult to maintain. Now, there are a lot of people who will tell you, oh, it's never been easier to create a website. And although, yes, that's true, it's still a lot of work to have a fully fleshed out, well thought out, professional website that offers value to your customers. Now, what I did the wrong way was essentially take a lot of time, weeks and months to create a website, only to have nothing to sell on it. Now, at the time, I was using my website as my blog and my main way of sharing information, which ended up being the total wrong move. And the reason for that is, if you think about it, how are people going to find your website? Unless you're doing critical advertising and spending a lot of time on social media pointing people to your website, there's no way people are just going to randomly stumble upon your random website on the massive internet. And plus, another thing I learned is that it's a lot better to go where people already are. For example, having a YouTube channel or an Instagram. There are literally billions of people on this platform, and it's much easier and you're more likely to get discovered by people if you actually go where they hang out. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean I'm saying never create a website. What I'm saying is that you don't need a website to start or launch your successful business. When I was considering revamping my website, I actually scrapped the entire idea by creating a Stan store instead. Now, Stan store or Gumroad and other websites like this are optimized for social social media pages. They make it really simple to start and basically help you set up your entire tech stack that you need to start selling and making money. I highly recommend using StanStore if you're brand new to entrepreneurship, or if you just want to create something simple that you can start selling very quickly. Reason for that is StanStore not only allows you to have payment processing, create beautiful landing pages, upsell links, but they also allow automations, email funnels, and a lot of the other basics you need to sell a product from start to finish. What I also like about it is that it's optimized for social media, which is a great way to start marketing your ideas before you get into paid advertising. I have made way more money selling products off of my StanStore than I ever did on my website. So don't be like me. If you want to get started quickly and easily and start selling, don't create a website. Number 3. Pretty doesn't mean profitable. I have spent way too much time worrying about packaging. And by packaging, I mean making things look really pretty, professional, high gloss, etc. In fact, I think I spent more than 6 months working on my ebook. The funny thing is that I was so focused on aesthetics that at one point, I kind of lost the plot and forgot the message. It took me a lot of iterations to finally get back on track, but I didn't put the value and my messaging first on my product. Instead, I focused more on the aesthetics, which means that the whole value and transformation kind of got lost at the end of the day. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's really important to have clean, professional, very aesthetic products, especially if you're going to be selling a high ticket product. But in this case, I was creating a low ticket product and was spending months and months, if not entire quarters, just trying to choose which fonts and colors to select. Now, this isn't quite the same as iterating on your idea or refining it and making it better over time. Now, that was a natural consequence of what I did, but I was focusing on the wrong thing. You should always focus on substance and value first, then do aesthetics. So when I finally understood to focus on value and transformation first, I flipped this whole model and I have gotten amazing success as a result. You'd also be surprised how quickly you can make things look really clean, polished, and professional just by using some simple templates, let's say on Canva, or hiring a very cheap designer to help get your product vision out the door. But remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the transformation. So make sure that you're delivering on that promise. Number 4, talk about your product way more than you think you need to. So I made the mistake of launching a product and talking about it once. This is not launching a product. This is whispering a product launch and watching it die. You will be shocked how many times people need to hear the same thing over and over before they'll even consider purchasing something from you. But not only that, it's actually really self-absorbed to think that our followers or customers are always hearing everything that we say or watching every single bit of content that we put online. Even the most successful influencers put out so much content because they know that people need to see it many different ways, or it needs to come in many different angles before they'll actually start to pay attention. And even this goes back to how people learn at the end of the day. People need to hear things multiple times before it actually sets in. And even then, people need more reminders before they're likely to act on something, like following a call to action or actually hitting buy on that webpage and purchasing your product. So it might feel a little repetitive to talk about the same product over and over to your audience, and you might feel uncomfortable in thinking that, oh gosh, aren't they bored of this already? Chances are they probably don't even know that you have a book, a product, or anything to sell. So you need to talk about your stuff a lot. In fact, it's probably a better idea to just stick to one major offer and talk about it over and over and over and over again to many different audiences in many different ways. Now, personally, I'm a little bit of a Pisces and I like to flow and have a lot of different products and things to talk about, but that admittedly kind of diminishes my message and what I offer because I have a lot of different ideas that I'm throwing at people all the time. Now, personally, I'm okay with this because I like to bop around and have a lot of different things to offer to people, but it does add complexity and it also does add a little bit of confusion to your audience, especially if you have a lot of different products to sell at any given time. Now, this doesn't change the strategy, which is you should still talk about your stuff a lot. Problem is if you just have more than one product, you need to talk about more than one product many times in a lot of different ways. So just remember that you need to talk about your stuff a lot before people start to hear it and then act. And believe me, they're not as bored of your content as you probably are. Number 5, your energy and your frequency is what matters the most. When I launched my very first product, I had so much self-doubt and imposter syndrome. I didn't think anyone was gonna buy it. And if you think about it, that energy and that fear was being infused into my offer because that's what I believed. That's what it was charged with. This is not a good idea at all, believe me. In fact, you're gonna feel so much more inspired to sell something if you feel that it has, let's say, a $2,000 value, but you're only selling it for $500. That's gonna feel more like, wow, this is amazing. You're gonna love it. In fact, it's a steal what you're getting for this price versus the attitude of,
oh my gosh, it's $500. Who's gonna buy this thing for $500?
Very big difference. Now, when you're just starting out, especially selling your first digital products, you might feel a little uncomfortable because you've never done it before, and that's totally fine. We have to step out of our comfort zone and try new things if we're gonna grow, especially as an entrepreneur. But that's different than being fearful or sabotaging your intention because you think you're not good enough. When that kind of situation has come up for me, I've used the fear processing exercise to process my fears in a healthy way, and then I no longer have the fear and I'm able to get on with my life and actually sell the damn product. At the end of the day, people will feel your energy, maybe not at a conscious level, but they will pick it up. So if you feel really good, inspired, and happy about what you're doing, that will infuse your work and people will gravitate towards that. When I was first starting out, I thought it was more about the looks and the packaging without really understanding the mystical underpinnings of everything. Now I know better, and hopefully you do too. Because here's the thing, I want every single lightworker on the planet to feel amazing about making money and make money by bringing more light into the world. Because you were never meant just to consume. You're here to create and to shed your light into the world. And I'm here to help move you through it. I'll see you in the next video.